Well, it's very possible. I mean, and something that Tony said earlier about the 1930s bottles that y'all are digging not being as old. I will tell y'all this. I know y'all not being bottle guys specifically. Don't let the age dictate what you think about a bottle with the collectability side. We've had several bottles just in the last 2 months from the state of Alabama that are from the 1940s and 50s, bring $400 and $500 a piece. So age does not dictate value or the collectible side. So the 1930s stuff, 1920s, 1930s are referred to as the deco style. That deco style bottle was not collected by many bottle diggers, and I've actually had some of the older bottle diggers here in Alabama tell me, we used to throw those back. Well, when they would throw them back and they would cover them up, well, guess what? That means that there weren't that many brought to the market. You know, the fewer that are on the market, the more valuable that they are. So that means that the deco style stuff is actually more sought after now than what it was, 30 or 40 years ago. So the deco stuff, don't sleep on it. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's promising.
Yeah.
Right, Tony?
Yeah. Well, and I do like it just because it literally is from the Prohibition area, and it does say, not for, for federal use and all that kind of stuff, not to be reused. And, again, just the kind of the history side of it. I mean, that was a huge part of the history of the United States. And, to have an amber one and a clear one, I think they're just really cool bottles. I love whiskey, so,
Yeah.
Do y'all know whenever Prohibition was set up in Colorado? I know here in Alabama it was in 1919.
Yeah. Don't know exactly.
No.
Okay. Because I was curious if it was much different. I know down here in the South, they refer to it as the Bible Belt. Everybody was really hardcore on being against liquor and whiskey and all that kind of stuff. So by 1919, the alcohol stuff just disappeared. So if we find a embossed whiskey flask with a local town name or a jug, we already know that it's going to be over 100 years old. And usually that stuff's way more collectible because it wasn't made for an extended period of time, especially if it says saloon on it. And I have to imagine Colorado should be loaded with saloons.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yeah.
They like to drink here. There wasn't much else to do. Says Google says 1916 to 1933.
Yep, just pulled that up.
Okay.
16. Yeah.
So, y'all actually went into it a little bit earlier than we did, which is kind of shocking to me. I would think being out in the Wild West that it would have been a little bit later.
Yeah.
Well, it was ruthless. The Wild West and alcohol didn't mix so well because there already was not much to do and things were scarce. I mean, people were desperate. I mean, there's even stories, terrible stories of, these wagon trains that would get attacked that would later it would be associated and sort of pinned on Native Americans attacking it. Was actually very desperate pioneers that were in, desperate straits. And the wagon trains and carriages that were coming in had goods and food and supplies on them. And it was real easy to kind of pin some of that stuff on the Native Americans. So there are stories out there of that stuff happening. Them trying to say, look, things are getting really out of hand and we're going to try to curb the violence and the drunkenness and the crime by, doing Prohibition. I could see it. There's a lot of I read a lot of old newspapers because they're filled with amazing information.
Yes.
Right?